Did you ever notice how people, when they think about their future, almost always think negatively, worrying and stressing? A person who loves their child worries about whether their child will remain healthy or will become ill, or a person with a good, stable business, worrying that something will go wrong and they will eventually fail. Your child is healthy, your business is doing fine. There is no reason to worry. Don't neglect the present moment, because it's the source of your power. Many people do have challenging circumstances, but most of you who are listening to this are not in that tough situation. Let me ask you something. Do you have a hobby, for example? Whatever that hobby might be, haven't you noticed that you always perform better when you are fully focused, calm, and in the moment? It doesn't matter how good or bad you are, you always perform better when you are focused, motivated, and when you believe in yourself. Is this true or not? You know it's true. And you probably understand that your state of mind affects not only your performance in your hobby, but your entire life. You're like your own prophet. You can predict your own future. When you win, you expect to win in the first place, so it's nothing surprising to win. When you lose, it's exactly the same. You doubted, you worried, and it's natural for you to lose. Nothing surprising there. Can you see that you can change your expectations and win in every situation?
In your car and play it in a moment of frustration or anguish in traffic, and you know what? You can move the traffic. I know you laugh and you think that that kind of thing is impossible. There is nothing that you can't do when you shift your energy from energies that weaken to energies that strengthen. And this is what Kent Keith had written and what Mother Teresa lived by. She said, people are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone may destroy overnight. It's particularly relevant in America, isn't it? Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you have anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it's all between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. You cannot think about and put your attention on what they want or expect for you if you want that to change in your life. And there's no shortage of people who have an opinion about what it is that you should be or shouldn't be or how you should be doing it. Most of these are your relatives. I have a wonderful book in mind to write. It's called Your Friends Are God's Way of Apologizing for Your Relatives. But if I talk to your relatives, they laugh too. So we all have this idea that the reason I'm not getting where I'd like to be, particularly with young people and working with young people over the years, it's because my parents want this, or my parents think that, or my parents won't let me do this. And I always said, well, but why are you so attached to what your parents think? Well, these are my parents, and I have to do it. I said, you can listen to it, you can take it in, but you don't have to embrace it. You don't have to live by that. And certainly when you become adults, when if there are people out there who convince you that you should or shouldn't be doing this or that, then you're going to continue to attract exactly what it is that they have their attention on. So if you put your thoughts on what they want for you, you tell everybody else about how it makes you go from being blissed to pissed just by being in their presence, just by being on the telephone with them, that person, that in-law, that mother, that father, that grandparent, that child, that whoever it might be, is giving you, or even your neighbors or your friends or whomever, your coworkers are telling you what you should or shouldn't be, and you don't like the advice that they're giving, and you resent very strongly.
Your results with gratitude and generosity. And the affirmation for this principle is, I am deeply thankful for all that I've received, and I enjoy giving to others in the spirit of love and service. This is a very important part, not only of being able to show up in your life what it is that is the fulfillment of your heart's desire, but it is also a beautiful way to begin living your life every day. There's an old saying that says, if you're not generous when it's hard, you will not be generous when it's easy. And generosity isn't necessarily the giving away of what you have, but it's more of a attitude of spirit, as is gratitude. So there are really three components to this eighth principle. The first is gratitude, the second is generosity, and the third is service. Let me take them one at a time here. The first is gratitude, and I remember reading a book a few years back by a friend of mine. His name is Dan Millman. I believe Dan has a program with Nightingale Conrad, a wonderful speaker, and he wrote a book called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And in The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, he had this character who was an enlightened kind of being. And in Dan's book, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, this character's name was Socrates. And Socrates was this fellow who worked in a gas station, but he could do all of these bizarre kinds of things. He could jump up onto a roof 14 feet in the air by just transporting himself. And he had this ability to make himself disappear and to change his shape and do many of the things that most of us, because most of us are cookie thieves, believe somehow that we can't do these things, and we know a truth. And we are attached to that truth, that this is the only dimension there is, and there are no other dimensions that I can get involved in or peer into, because my senses have told me this, and we've come to put an extraordinary amount of faith in these senses, which mislead us all the time about reality. So Socrates was one of these people who was living in a different dimension, a different level of consciousness. So Socrates tells his student to go out onto a rock and sit until he can think of something important and come back and tell him something important or something significant, I believe it was. And he goes out there, the student goes out there, Dan, he's telling his own story, and he sits there on a rock. And he sits there, and every time he thinks he's got something that's really important, then he thinks about telling Socrates this, he realizes how unimportant this is. So after sitting there for a long period of time, and finally, after going to Socrates and telling him things, and Socrates says, no, that's not important, back he would go to his rock. And he did this 2 or 3 times. No, that's not significant. He'd go back to his rock. So finally he came and he said something, and Socrates said to him, you've got it. You have discovered something significant. And that something significant was, he said to him, there are no ordinary moments. There are no ordinary moments. And Socrates said, yes, that's significant. That is a great teaching, a great learning. And that's really the essence of gratitude. The essence of gratitude is understanding that every moment of your life is something to be grateful for. And that everything that shows up in your life is something that you will want to be expressing a sense of gratitude about.
If you're struggling with negative emotions, address them directly. Acknowledge them, understand their source, and then consciously release them. Being too rigid about how and when your desires should manifest can create resistance. Practice flexibility and openness. Trust that the universe might have an even better plan for you. At the heart of this practice is the power of belief.
Belief is the fuel that powers the engine of manifestation. It's not just about believing in the process, but believing in yourself and your worthiness to receive what you're asking for. Cultivate a strong belief in your abilities and your worth. Affirm daily that you are deserving of all the good that life has to offer. Believe that the universe is working in your favor, even if you can't see it immediately. Use positive affirmations to strengthen your belief. Affirmations like, "I am capable of creating my reality," or "The universe is conspiring to help me succeed" can be powerful tools in bolstering your belief system. Manifestation takes time and persistence. Stay committed to your practice even when it feels challenging. Remember, every great journey begins with a single step. And every night you engage in this practice, you're one step closer to manifesting your desires.